Are you identifying the most valuable assets that you have? And are you leveraging them in the best possible manner? Or are you just being distracted by the things that you do not have, the constraints that you have? There was an experiment conducted by a Stanford University professor, Dr. Tina Seelig, who gave a challenge to her class. She essentially split up her class into small groups and she gave each group $5. And she said, let's see which of your groups can give the highest return on investment on this $5, right? So she gave them 2 hours to do it. And after the end of the experiment, each group will get to present their strategy and how they used the $5 and how they made whatever money they made, right? So the groups all went and did their own thing. Most of the groups did the standard thing. They essentially bought something with the $5 and they tried to sell it again, and then they sell it again, and sell that thing again. So they did the barter system basically, and some of them actually made some money. A lot of them lost money. They couldn't get the $5 to go too far. And then there's a couple other groups that basically what they did is they just ignored the $5 and they just used their time to make money. So one of the groups did they went around the campus and started pumping air for bikers at a more convenient location. And I think initially they were charging $1 or something for that service. And then later on they switched to a donation model, and they actually realized people were actually paying them more than $1 because people valued that service more than they thought they valued, their customers would value. So they made some decent money there. There was another group who traded restaurant reservations with people to restaurants which are in high demand. So basically these guys would go and make advanced reservations and they would arbitrage that with people that need reservations right now. So those guys made some good money as well. But there was one group that made more money than anybody else. And this group, what they did was they sat down and first thought creatively, and they realized that the $5 was basically just a distraction because you can't really make that go too far. So they essentially ignored that. And then they also realized that the 2 hours was also kind of a distraction, because if you do anything where you're trading your time for dollars, you really can't make much in 2 hours. So they also ignored that part. And then they thought to themselves, what is the highest value asset that we have? The highest value asset they realized that they have is actually the 3-minute presentation that they were going to make. It's going to be a presentation to the entire Stanford class, right? So that's what they realized is their asset, the access to that Stanford class. So they went around to other recruiting companies, other companies in the area, in the California Bay Area, and they traded that 3-minute spot to a design company, to a marketing agency, to come and pitch to all the Stanford class to come and join their company. And they got this company to pay them $650 for that 3-minute spot. And that was the group that made more money than any other groups. So the reason they did that, the reason they were able to do that is because they used an asset that they have access to that everybody else was basically ignoring, which is the access to the Stanford class. So people will pay a lot of money to get in front of that Stanford class, and they had that chance to do that for 3 minutes, and they could trade those 3 minutes to another company that will value that a lot more than other students would. So that's how they made that much money. So what are the assets that you already currently have that are undervalued, underappreciated by you and by everybody else like you, but they are highly valued by other people, that if you could give them access to these assets or to these resources, they pay you a lot of money. And that's what you should be leveraging if you want to get where you want to go the fastest. And there are assets like this that you could be acquiring at very low cost as well, because other people don't value them. You can see the value in them, you can acquire them at low cost, and you can trade them, you can arbitrage them to get much high value for these assets.